mi canal. Yo me llamo Siri. Soy una abogada afro-latina licenciada y practicando las leyes criminales, pero como todos ustedes, a mí me fascina cuando estamos hablando de casos de crímenes reales. En este video vamos a hablar del caso de Ronald Burgos-Aviles. Si quieren más video en español, nada más dime allá abajo. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Desiree. I'm a licensed and practicing Afro-Latina criminal attorney who, much like the rest of you, has this severe fascination with true crime cases. Listen, the case we're going to talk about today happened a few years ago at this point, but I was just so intently focused on it. This case is absolutely astounding. It's astonishing. It's fascinating. The lengths that people will go to cover up their deception, deceit, and trickery. And this is the case of Ronald Burgos-Aviles. Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles is a 34 or 35 at this point year old former Border Patrol agent based out of Laredo, Texas. Mr. Burgos-Aviles had rose to the ranks of supervisory agent and had been with the agency for a total of 9 years. At the time of this incident, Ronald Anthony was actually married to another Border Patrol agent, and together the couple shared 2 children. Ronald's wife was named Amy, and their 2 sons, Gabriel and Damien, were 10 and 3 years old at the time of this occurrence. On Monday, April 9th of 2018, the day started relatively normal for Mr. Burgos-Aviles, or at least according to the prosecution. Again, according to the prosecution, the day started off with Ronald in what's called a luster meeting for Border Patrol agents, where they would be assigned their daily duties as to what stations they'd be patrolling for that day. In addition to being assigned their duty stations, each Border Patrol agent was also assigned a vehicle for that day, and Ronald was no different. Ronald was assigned a pickup truck with identification markers K66119. After receiving assignment of his vehicle, Ronald was told to go patrol the area near the Father McNaboe Park. While en route to his assignment, here is where things take a very, very interesting turn. Despite what Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles was pretending to be to the general public, a happily married man, 2 offspring, great job, supervisory title, none of that was enough for him. Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles was engaged in an affair. His mistress was a woman who he met online in 2015 by the name of Grizelda Hernandez. Assuming because he was married and had a little modicum of decorum, and because he didn't want to get caught by his wife, he told Grizelda that his name was Anthony. Not Ronald Anthony, pero nada más Anthony. The affair between Anthony and Grizelda lasted quite some time, and it actually produced a beautiful, beautiful baby boy by the name of Dominic, who was born on July 26th of 2016. According to the testimony of Grizelda's sister, Grizelda had another son named Jayden, who was 6 years old at the time of this incident. Grizelda, Jayden, and Dominic were living with her mother at the time that all of this occurred. I keep referring to all of this and what happened and the incident, but what exactly do I mean? On the morning of Monday, April 9th, 2018, following receipt of his assignment, Anthony asked Grizelda and Dominic to meet him near that park because he wanted to spend time together. Instead of asking her to meet him directly at the park, he asked her to meet in a brushy area full of sticks, stones, dirt, and debris that was near the park. I find that a little bit suspicious. I don't know if you find it suspicious. But she did it. She went and met up with him because it was really important to her. For Dominic and Anthony to have a good relationship. Before meeting up with Anthony, Griselda asked her sister Angelica if she could use her car for the meetup. Angelica le dijo que sí, which means Angelica told her yes. And Griselda used the car and did some errands before she went up to meet with Anthony. Amongst those errands that Griselda was running before going to meet Anthony, she went to meet a friend. And her friend volunteered to take care of Dominic for the day. Pero Griselda le dijo que no, which means Griselda told her no. Because they were going to meet his father, Anthony. When Griselda and Dominic arrived at that park, in that wooded, brushy area, that is exactly when Anthony's plan took place. Anthony came from behind the bushes, wielding a knife, and stabbed Griselda 27 times. Griselda, being the wonderful and strong mother bear that she was, she did everything that she could to protect her baby boy Dominic. And as a result of that, she had multiple lacerations to her hand. Unfortunately, Griselda's efforts would not be successful. After stabbing Griselda 27 times, Anthony focused his attention on his own son. Dominic was only 18 months old at the time, and he was wearing a precious little Yoda t-shirt. And Anthony couldn't bear to see the face of the beautiful baby boy that he created. So he pulled that shirt over Dominic's head and stabbed him multiple times. Anthony stabbed him once in the chest and another time in the neck. Although Anthony really tried to make this look like an orchestrated attack, law enforcement picked up on his ruse quite early on. Following these brutal and vicious attacks, Anthony left the bodies of Griselda and Dominic to decompose in that brushy, wooded area. But why on earth would this man do such a thing? Why? What was the believed motive behind these vicious, selfish, needless, purposeless, baseless, empty, unfulfilling, stupid, idiotic, moronic, satanic, diabolical, demented, and just plain idiotic attacks? You ask? Let me tell you. Prosecutors claim that the reason this bum attacked his mistress and his son is because he didn't want to pay child support. ¿Qué clase de estupidez es esa? As I stated, Griselda was not only raising Dominic, but she had another son from a prior relationship, and the three of them lived at her mother's home. According to Griselda's sister Angelica, Griselda did not have employment at the time of the murder, but she was in nursing school and supporting herself and her two sons from student loans and financial aid. Because, as I'm sure most of us can assume, that is an incredibly stressful financial position to be in. Grizelda asked Anthony for some assistance financially with their son. But every time she would ask him, Anthony would just try to gaslight her and blow it off. He would make comments about sex. He would make jokes. He thought everything was a game. So he never took her requests for financial assistance seriously. Griselda finally had enough. And on March 21st of 2018, Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles was served with child support paperwork. Although prosecution didn't clarify as to Ronald Anthony's reaction after receiving these papers, I'm sure we can all assume it probably wasn't too great. 4 days after being served with this child support paperwork, Ronald Anthony suddenly had a strong desire to be in his son's life. According to the prosecution, this would be the first time that Ronald Anthony would ever meet his son, and Dominic was already 18 months old. Anthony asked Griselda to meet their son at a public park, and Griselda readily agreed because she wanted her son to get to know his father. During the meeting, Griselda remembered that she forgot something in her vehicle, so she went to her car to get that thing. And when she returned, she was astonished to see that Dominic was crying hysterically. Not thinking anything nefarious had occurred, Griselda merely assumed that because it was the springtime in the middle of Texas, baby Dominic had suffered from a spider bite. But she didn't know how wrong she was. Prosecutors later learned that Anthony tried to cause injury to Dominic by stabbing his little body with a needle. Law enforcement would also find multiple needles and syringes inside of Anthony's truck. After discovering Griselda's disappearance, law enforcement ran the plates on her sister Angelica's vehicle, realized it was registered to her, and then went to have a conversation with her. In that conversation, Angelica told them, "Well, my sister went up to meet with her child's father. We know him as Anthony." Angelica was able to provide them a last name. She said, "Anthony Burgos-Aviles," le dijo todo eso. And then an alert goes out looking for this suspect. Do you know that while Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles is in uniform, supposed to be protecting and serving, he hears the alert on his little radio that they're looking for him, and he kind of panics. His fellow Border Patrol agents realize that the two people are connected, and prosecutors discover that they have the right person. Before we get into what happened at trial, do you know how much of a bum, a lame, a loser, a moron, a brokey? Do you know how much of all of that you've got to be to decide that you're going to kill your own seed because you don't want to pay for some child support? You're a loser and a bum. The first day of trial began on June 16th of 2023. So remember how I said the date of offense here is in 2018? I'd only be guessing as to why it took 5 years to take this case to trial, but it was the middle of the pandemic. In addition to everything else in the world just completely shutting down, so did courthouses. Our trial stopped for a long period of time. Everything that happened was virtual. We only conducted hearings. We couldn't bring jurors in because it was far too dangerous. So that's my best guess as to why it took so long. As is typical in most of the trials we discuss on this channel, we began by listening to opening statements from both sides.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a case about a danger within. A danger within a family, a danger within law enforcement, a danger within society. The evidence will show that on April the 9th of 2018 started like any other ordinary day. Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles, the man who sits here today, a supervisor, Border Patrol agent of 9 years, reports to the Laredo North Station for his shift from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. He arrives. The evidence will show that he goes to his morning meeting that's called muster, where the assignments are handed out. At about 8:01, after he's assigned his kilo unit, you're going to hear that word kilo unit during this trial. And that is the term that they use for the pickup trucks. We've all seen the white and green trucks driven by Border Patrol. He was driving one. K66119. K66119. That was the unit that he was driving. He exits at 8:01 a.m. His destination, Father McNaboe Park off of Mines Road. That is the area that he was going to be in charge of that day. The evidence will show that that area covers from Father McNaboe Park all the way to World Trade Bridge. He is a supervisor, and he has other agents under his supervision. But today is going to be far from normal. Today, April the 9th of 2018, is the day that he is going to carry out a sinister plan. The evidence will show that he invites a young woman, a secret lover, and the child that they have together to the park. But the evidence will show that the meeting that he's setting up for them is not at the park, but it is in a dense, brushy area near the Rio Grande River. He instructs her to arrive at Father McNaboe Park, to park her car, and to take the walk to this secret meeting. We'll take you there. You'll see, and the evidence will show that she walks by the baseball field, then she walks through a nature trail, then she walks around a soccer field, then she gets near the river area, and that's where the dirt trail starts. The plan is to set up an ambush. The evidence will show that the kilo unit, 66119, is parked at the end of this trail. We will take you to that trail. You will see the vantage point that when she's pushing her stroller and she enters the path, up ahead is the kilo unit, the pickup truck. That's the decoy. What she doesn't know is that Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles is lying in wait. He is hiding, waiting for her to get close enough to the truck to carry out his ambush. The time around that this is going on is about 9:45 in the morning. The next few minutes that this young woman and this innocent baby experience is the most horrific and terrifying, unimaginable thing that anybody could imagine. It's at that time that her attacker comes out of the brush and with violent and vicious moves, clenching a knife, attacks this young woman. But what does every mother have? What does God give every mother when it comes to protecting a child? What will every mother do? The evidence will show that they will protect, that they will fight, and they will even die in order to protect their child, just like a mother bear. Who is this young mother? Who is this innocent baby? Grizelda Hernandez? And 18-month-old Dominic Hernandez. These are the two victims that on that morning lives were taken.
As we continue to cover trials on this channel, I've just come to a specific realization about different attorneys' practice styles. And what I'll say is that they're long-winded and boring. Watching the opening statements here was tragic. It didn't provide a clear and linear timeline. It was just all over the place, just throwing stuff at walls. That is frustrating for a viewer. And I have a law degree and a law license. I can only imagine how you guys feel listening to this. As I alluded to earlier, I didn't allude to anything, I said it. The prosecution's opening statement was circular, nonlinear, kind of incoherent. It was hard for me to follow. I didn't realize what was happening in the case until about 30 minutes in. I'm being dramatic. It was just not a good roadmap, as it should have been, to the jurors and to the people listening and watching as to what this trial was going to be about. It was just everywhere. It was sporadic. I didn't enjoy it. But he gave us the information eventually. After the prosecution delivered our opening, defense did the same.
Your Honor, counsel, members of the jury. April 9, 2018, the date of the murders, is a total aberration in the life of Ronald Burgos. Prior to that date, Ronald was a Border Patrol agent supervisor. He had a home where he lived with his wife, Amy, who is a U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent, and their two children, Gabriel and Damien, who were 10 and 3 years old at the time. On April 9, 2018, Ronald, who has no prior criminal history whatsoever, was accused of the murders of Grizelda and Dominic Hernandez. This is an enormous anomaly, an aberration in Ronald's otherwise normal, law-abiding life. And now in this trial, Ronald is literally fighting for his life. As his lawyers, we have the duty to render effective assistance of counsel. The right to effective assistance of counsel is a constitutional right that every person accused of a crime has. And we have the duty to screen the evidence, to contest it, and to make sure that only evidence that is credible and reliable is considered by you so that you can accurately determine the truth or falsity of the disputed facts in this case. For example, the state will present evidence from an expert in historical cell phone tower analysis. And they will do that in an effort to show Ronald's locations at particular times of the day on the morning of April 9, 2018. We, on the other hand, will show that a person's physical location cannot be accurately determined using cell tower site analysis because the cell tower data on which the analysis relies are too imprecise to reach any reliable conclusions about a person's location at a particular time. If Ronald is convicted of capital murder, he will die in prison, regardless of whether you impose the death penalty or not, because the only other available penalty is life in prison without the possibility of parole. So we urge you to weigh the evidence with extreme caution and to consider only evidence that you believe is credible and reliable. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Peña.
When I tell you that there are certain circumstances where waiving an opening statement is more than appropriate and sometimes even necessary, this is one of those circumstances. When I saw defense's opening, I was like, why'd you do that? It was all of 2 sentences. You got up there and just said some words. And you could have just been like, Your Honor, I waive. We ain't got nothing to say. Because you didn't really say anything anyway. It served no useful purpose. Following opening statement, the prosecution called their first witness, Grizelda's sister Angelica Hernandez, to the stand.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mr. Alanis. I'm the district attorney. Can you please state your full name for the record?
Angelica Hernandez.
Okay. You can move the mic up a little bit and speak up loudly so that the court reporter can hear you.
Angelica Hernandez.
Very well. And what is your occupation?
I am a registered nurse.
Do you know why you're here today?
Yes.
Why are you here?
For the murder of my sister Grizelda Hernandez and my nephew Dominic Hernandez.
Do you know how old your sister was at the time of her death?
27.
Do you know how old your nephew was at the time of his death?
A year and 7 months.
At the time of her death, how many children did your sister have?
2. And
for the record, we're talking about Grizelda Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay. What's the age difference between you and Grizelda?
9 years.
Her other child, how old at the time of her death was her other child?
Jayden was 6 years old.
Okay, so she had Jayden, who was 6, and Dominic, who was 18 months.
Yes, that's correct.
Was she married?
No,
She was a single mother?
she was a single mother raising both her children.
When you say raising both of her children, tell us more about that. How, if any way, was she raising her children?
She was a single mother living at my mother's household. She was raising Jayden at the time. Jayden was 6 years old. He was, if I'm not mistaken, in about first grade going to second. Dominic was going to daycare, our daycare that we've taken all our children to, me and her both. She was studying full-time at TAMIU. She was pursuing nursing. She was doing her second year of prerequisites.
Okay. And how was she paying for her nursing program?
She was paying for it the way I did, with student loans and financial aid.
And if you know, what would she be using the financial aid for?
She was using, well, her financial aid was primarily used to pay her classes. Her student loans went for her books and to get to and from the university and to pay for the child's daycare. It gets pretty expensive.
Correct. And tell us a little bit about Dominic. You say, do you happen to know his date of birth?
Yes, I was at my sister's C-section. I was the only person there when she had Dominic. He was born 10 days before my son, so that would be July 25th. July 26th. 28,
17?
16.
2016. Okay, so he was now. So at the time that Dominic died, tell us about him. How was he as a child? Was he pretty active?
Yes, he was. He actually started walking and running before my son did, even though they're just 10 days apart. He was always, I feel, the more active one when he was little. But yes, he was walking before he was murdered, but up to the date when he was murdered, he wasn't walking anymore. His dad had hurt him 2 weeks prior.
Well, and we'll get into his condition as far as that goes. But let me ask you, during the 18 months of Dominic's life, was he receiving any financial assistance from the father?
No.
No. Do you know around this time, and the time she got pregnant or the time she gave birth, who the presumed father of the child was?
Yes.
And who would that be?
Anthony Burgos.
Anthony Burgos. And let's talk about when she got involved with Anthony Burgos. The time that she had gotten pregnant, do you know, if you know, how long had she been seeing Anthony?
I don't know. What I do know is that they had met online. I don't know via how.
Well, don't guess. I'm just wanting to know that if you all you know is that they met online, but you don't know.
That's correct.
What site?
That's correct.
Now, in 2018, was she still pursuing her nursing career?
Yes.
Was she still receiving financial aid?
Yes.
Up until this time, had she ever received child support?
No.
Now let's talk about child support. Did you and her ever talk about child support?
Yes, we did.
And what was your advice, if any, regarding child support?
She spoke to me about opening a case for child support because she went to go apply for, at the time, I believe it was CCMS. It's a program that helps you pay for childcare. And that's when my conversation with her, you know, I stated some of the facts about the program because I myself was in CCMS when I reached out for daycare assistance back when my little ones were smaller. One of the requisites for your application even to be looked at is that you have to open a child support case. If not, you know, it won't, it's just one of the requirements. So when I told her that, she told me she had already applied and they had already called her that if she wanted, you know, to pursue with her application that she needed to open a child support case since they had already checked and there wasn't one open. That was my conversation with her about it.
At the time of her death, who was she living with?
My mother.
Okay, and had she been getting any strong financial support? Tell us about the background there in your mother's house.
My mother and, you know, at times my father, my brother, myself, we would help her out whenever, you know, she would voice that she needed something for the children. Whenever I was going to buy my son or my children clothes, I would bring her along with me and we would do our shopping together. As far as diapers, which is what goes pretty fast when they're small, and, you know, formula and taking him to and from the doctor's visit for vaccines, all those things, you know, we would all help her. I can't say just, you know, one person. We would all help her as a family unit.
Okay, but it is safe to say that you did advise her that she should proceed with the child support action.
Yes.
Okay. Permission to approach.
Approach, please.
I'm gonna show you what I'm marking as State's Exhibit 483. See if you recognize this document.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does it fairly and accurately depict the what's within its contents here?
Yes, it's my sister's information, and I recognize it all.
Do you recognize this handwriting?
Yes, it's my sister's handwriting.
Whose handwriting is that?
Grizelda.
Okay.
Any objections?
No objections.
What's the number?
This is state moves to introduce State's Exhibit 483, the child support.
Number 483 is admitted without objection. Thank you. States 483.
Publish this here.
Tonight.
So,
Mr. Knight, do me a favor. For purposes of the record, 483 has how many pages on it?
including the document itself is 11 pages. The certifications are 2.
All right, very good. Thank you.
shown you what's been already admitted as State's Exhibit 43. Can you read what this says up on top?
The title of the document?
Yes.
Application for 4D services.
Okay. And this is the application for child support?
That's correct.
And you see here, what is the name that's here?
Dominic Hernandez.
And do you see when this was also submitted?
February 9th of 2018.
The information on page 2 is your sister's,
That's correct.
Grizelda Hernandez.
That's correct.
Now, on page 3, you see the information,
Yes.
and that here is the name of, what name is up there?
Ronald A. Burgos-Aviles.
And this is place of employment?
Yes, it is.
In listening to Angelica's testimony, I found her to be completely credible. She seemed distraught, of course, over the circumstances that she found herself in, but she was very, very calm. She tried her best to deliver all of the testimony and the evidence and the facts as she knew them. She provided a good and coherent statement. She answered all the questions that were asked of her, and overall, she was just a really good witness. The second day of trial continued on June 27th of 2023. On this day, the prosecution called Grizelda's best friend, who testified that she told Grizelda to get a restraining order against Anthony because he had sent her some threatening and concerning text messages. Through this witness, the prosecution was also able to establish that Grizelda did an internet search for Anthony, found out his address, and that is how she was able to serve him with the child support paperwork. Also, according to this witness, this is when Grizelda learned for the very first time that Anthony was married with 2 kids. A lot of you may disagree with the decisions that Grizelda made in this case. Maybe your moral compass is so ridiculously high that you just absolutely know when someone's lying to you, and you just have to know from the minute a man opens his mouth that he is married, and that's fine. Engaging in an affair does not mean that someone deserves to be killed. The third day of trial continued on June 28th of 2023. On this day, law enforcement witnesses testified about how they narrowed in on Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles as the potential suspect in these double homicides. The fourth day of trial continued on June 29th of 2020. On this day, through a cellular data expert, prosecution was able to establish that there was cellular information and cellular data that placed Ronald Anthony in the vicinity of the park exactly at the time that the double homicides were taking place. The fifth day of trial continued on June 30th of 2023. On this day, the prosecution introduced evidence that established that Ronald Anthony was indeed 100% the pappy of Dominic. Prosecution also introduced evidence that both Grizelda and Dominic's blood were found in multiple spots inside of Ronald's patrol vehicle. Prosecution also played Ronald's police interview for the jurors to see.
The questions we gotta ask them. I mean, entiendo que investigators would deep, they don't ask questions. You know? When I have my gun in the back, you had a freaking domestic on me. You guys should know better than that. But that's something else. It's just like what you're doing. Like we're in a key corner, and it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, man. I can't even fucking talk to my chick. You know, by this time now, everybody at the station, what do you think they're fucking saying right now? That our fucking got taken away? And they're not gonna say, you know, they're not gonna say, hey, this is going on. They're gonna say, hey, nothing away because he did this. And what do you think is gonna happen? So they're gonna talk to their wife, and their wife's gonna be calling and shit before I can even get to talk to her. And then what, man? And you guys don't even let me make a fucking phone call. I can make a phone call from here if you want me to from the station. I don't need my phone.
I mean, we're pretty much in control of what you can and can't do right now. I mean, that's
That's what I'm asking you.
But are you asking me to reward you with all these things, but I'm getting no cooperation from you?
I told you everything that is on the. What else do you need me to tell you?
Errands, you know? Come on. I've been very generous with you. I've been patient long. Come on, I understand that, but you're talking about a tech person now. You know? So we're still with the family. We're still at their house. We're having to answer their desperate pleas to you know, hopefully tell them that that's not the case. You know, they want to do that, but we can't tell them that because we know for a fact that's right. You know, so seeing what we've seen, which is the mother, the sister, the family, them screaming in agony, que no sea, and then you're saying somebody beat her ass.
Because you refuse to tell me what happens to her because you
No,
think that I fucking know, and that fucking offends me.
You know, all I'm saying is show some respect, man. It's a dead person. A mother and a child.
Alright, look, I'm sorry, right?
And the riverbanks of the city of Laredo, near a popular family location.
Look, I'm sorry, right? It's just too much, man.
It is a lot, man.
The way that you guys are treating just, you know.
We're just asking questions, man.
I know, no, but come on.
You know, it's not okay if fuera sido Amy and your kids, you would have been all over us. Hurry up, get some answers, catch them, what's going on? Así es la cosa, man.
Yo sé, pero you know, you guys are not asking any questions. You guys are me están como que.
What do you want me to ask? What do you want me to ask?
How many you have asked me? I told you to the best of my knowledge. Yes, like for the detail about the vegan, whatever, me vino y te lo dije, ¿me entiendes? Te lo dije.
So you want the City of Laredo Police Department and the United States Border Patrol to start looking for a suspect? You want us to start looking for somebody? Really? Based on what we know right now, you want us to stop what we're doing?
No.
And turn our attention away from you and go somewhere else?
No, I don't want you guys to do that.
But that only a rational person can say that. I mean, you want us to stop what we're doing and go somewhere else?
No, I want you guys to do your job.
And you want us to let you go?
No. No, I want to clean my name. I want to clean my name from wrongdoing. That's what I want. That's what I want to be someone free. Yo, I'm free.
Okay, well,
I was with someone else. ¿Me entiendes? This person, you can't even ask Lara, man. He has freaking experience, man. This wasn't like I did it. ¿Me entiendes? And then I freaking went like, hey, come over here.
come on, bro. What you doing? Anyway, why the fuck you made me stay here with you, man? Why? Fuck you. Man.
One.
How is something that looks like that, man? How is something that looks like that, bro? You know? And this could be your son. You know? I'm trying to be patient, bro, but when I see something like that, we see a lot of shit. You've seen it too, man. You're a veteran, and you've seen a lot of dead people in you know, La Havana. Te quebra el pinche corazón, bro, because we're fat, you know? We're human beings, man. You know? We're fucking human beings. And sometimes people become caught, hey, you guys are laughing at the crime scene. We're not laughing at dead people, man. We're laughing because the shit we gotta take it home with us. You know? And I'm here at the scene, bro, and I'm having to look at this little boy. My son owns shoes like that, bro. Miramos zapatitos, bro. Miramos. I literally bought my son some shoes like that. Es el mismo tamaño. Every time I see this picture, I'm picturing my son. You know? But it happens to be your son, bro. Why are you fucking with me, bro? Something.
Pues entonces, you know, let me call Amy or you guys are still pissed.
No, we can't be pissed, man. Why am I going to be pissed at you? I don't even, we already know each other. Why can't I take it personally?
Your partner is saying that he's like, I know you did it. I think you, whatever he said, like, he straight up accusing me. That's his personal opinion, so I know for a fact that he don't like me. You're being very patient with me. You don't believe me either, so I know you don't like me either.
That's not about lie, bro.
I know you guys think I'm fucking guilty, and in a way I understand. Believe me, in a way I understand. But in another way, you gotta understand. Like, I feel cornered, man. I feel cornered because of the whole situation, man. I'm like everything. Just look at everything. I'm fucking cornered.
I appreciate that, bro. So,
I'm fucking cornered.
Yeah.
Because you guys fucking think that I did because the coincidence and the past, you know, the past, the fact that I know it, the fact that whatever does not mean that I did it. And that's the thing that's pissing me off. You know, if your partner's saying if protective orders against me, what are you guys getting that from?
The question we gotta ask over me, you know?
Like,
What I'm gonna say is we don't ask questions, you know?
When I had my gun in the back, if I had a freaking domestic on me, you guys should know better than that.
Exactly, man. But that's somebody else.
It's just like one of you're gonna keep cornered and it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, man. I can't even fucking talk to my chick. You know, by this time now, everybody at the station, why do you think they're fucking saying right now that I fucking got taken away? And they're not gonna say, you know, they're not gonna say, hey, this is going on. They're gonna say, hey, he got taken away because he did this. And what do you think is gonna happen? So they're gonna talk to their wives, and their wives are gonna be calling my shit before I can even get to talk to her. And then what, man? And you guys don't even let me make a fucking phone call. I can make a phone call from here if you want me to, from the station. I don't need my phone.
I mean, we're pretty much in control of what you can do right now. I mean, that's
That's what I'm asking you.
But are you asking me to reward you with all these things, but I'm getting no cooperation from you?
I told you everything that is on me. What else do you need me to tell you? What is it that you need me to tell you? Te dije todo step by step. So if you're looking for me to say that I shot her in the face, I can't do that shit, man. You know why? Do you want to know why? Because I'm not going to fucking jail for something I didn't fucking do.
The sixth day of trial continued on July 5th of 2023. On this day, prosecution introduced evidence that although Ronald was actually scheduled to take a paternity test with the Attorney General's office prior to the evidence that they established proving paternity, he was a complete no-show. The seventh day of trial continued on July 6th of 2023. On this day, prosecution and defense delivered their closing argument, and the case was submitted to the jury for their deliberation. Merely hours later, the jurors delivered their verdict.
All right, this is the verdict in case number 2018 CRA 852D1, the state of Texas. If you could care to stand, Mr. Burgos, Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles. Verdict of the jury, count one. We, the jury, unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt the defendant Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles guilty of the offense of capital murder as alleged in count one of the indictment, signed by the foreperson. Verdict of the jury, count two. We, the jury, unanimously find beyond reasonable doubt the defendant Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles guilty of the offense of capital murder as alleged in count two of the indictment, signed by the foreperson.
On July 17th of 2023, after listening to testimony from multiple witnesses during the penalty phase of Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles' trial, the court delivered its sentence.
In cause number 2018 CRA 852D1, in the case of the state of Texas versus Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles, the jury has returned a unanimous verdict. I'm about to read the verdict of this jury on punishment as to count number one. Special issue number one on count one. Whether there is a probability that the defendant, Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles, would commit criminal act of violence that would constitute a continuing threat to society. Answer, yes. Signed by the foreperson. Answers to special issue number 2. Whether taking into consideration all the evidence, including the circumstances of the offense, the defendant's character and background, and the personal moral culpability of the defendant, there is a sufficient mitigating circumstance or circumstances to warrant that a sentence of life imprisonment without parole rather than a death sentence be imposed. Answer, yes. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. Verdict on punishment as to count number 2. Special issue number 1. Whether there is a probability that the defendant, Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles, would commit criminal acts of violence that would constitute a continuing threat to society. Answer, yes. Signed by the foreperson of the jury. As to special issue number 2. Whether taking into consideration all the evidence, including the circumstances of the offense, the defendant's character and background, and the personal moral culpability of the defendant, there is a sufficient mitigating circumstance or circumstances to warrant that a sentence of life imprisonment without parole rather than a death sentence be imposed. Answer, yes. Signed by the foreperson of this jury.
There aren't many ways to describe Ronald Anthony Burgos-Aviles' actions other than sick, twisted, demented, and just outright wicked. Although a lot of people morally disagree with having affairs, me included, having an affair is not a crime. But on top of having an affair, you decided not to wrap it on up, buddy, impregnate this woman, and then not want to take care of your responsibilities. If we were trying to find a proper way to describe broke, ashy, crusty, disgusting, despicable, diabolical, and just downright ew, your name would be the perfect fit for that definition. You are a bum, you are a lame, you are a loser. And I hope Grizelda and Dominic's families feel as if justice was served. As always. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time, y'all take care.